Hey, welcome back to Heirloom Permaculture. If you saw our last video, you saw us clean out the caterpillar tunnel, and now we're going to work on getting it ready to plant with our fall and winter crops. We're going to start off by amending the beds, and I'm going to show you today kind of what we use and why we use what we use. So before we planted anything last spring, this is 2020, we did soil testing on the front garden and determined what we needed to do to improve the soil. We were high on phosphorus. We were in decent shape on nitrogen and potassium, but because of the imbalance, that's where we need to focus our additions, are with the nitrogen and potassium. So I'd suggest do a soil testing on your soil before adding anything, just kind of random, so that you make sure you're adding exactly what you need. The soil test can be done by your local extension service, very reasonably priced. I think to do a basic NPK and maybe organic matter, maybe $8-10. Be sure to follow their directions on sampling your soil to get a good spread of samples across the entire area, because you're kind of wanting a composite test. You're not wanting to just test all in one location, so you're getting a kind of a spectrum of what condition the soil is in across the entire area that you're going to be gardening. And depending on what testing you choose to have them do, that'll vary the cost, but also change what data you get back. When we did the testing on ours, we asked for the NPK, which is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. We wanted organic matter, we wanted micronutrients, macronutrients, minerals, boron. There's a lot of different things they can test for, so it was a pretty inclusive test that we had done. And we just plan on really doing that one time early on. Then we'll do kind of a standard testing every year, and then every so many years probably do a more thorough testing to see how things are changing. But they give you your results back. Usually they'll tell you, what kind of additions you need to do. Most of that time it's based on kind of the big ag mindset. So they're going to give you urea additions for nitrogen. Kind of the big, mostly synthetic thought process. We choose not to use those. We want to use more natural amendments. So they give you, say, 1 pound 60-00, or what you can use the math to determine how much of the addition you want to use to get the same result. So say feather meal is a 12-00. It's the 12 is the nitrogen and 0 phosphorus, 0 potassium. The weight that they gave me for the directed amendment for nitrogen, let's say, was 60-00. That means it's 5 times more potent than the feather meal. Well, if it says add 1/5 of a pound per 10,000 square feet, then I would need to add 1 pound, because I need 5 times as much. So that kind of gives you an idea how to convert any directed amendment that they give you to the one that you want to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up batches based on a 50-foot row from our soil testing and what we know we need to add. That's about 1 pound of feather meal, 1/4 pound of potassium sulfate. We don't add anything with phosphorus. We'll add a little handful of azomite right here. It's a it's a fossilized mineral. It's harvested in northwest U.S. It has a lot of minerals, micronutrients, macronutrients. It's just a great, that's why it's azomite. They say it's A to Z minerals and elements. So it has a very broad spectrum. You don't need to add very much. It's not adding your NP or K, and it's just good to add into any of your mixes. We also use Miramichi Green, which is a blend of biochar and compost. The biochar works kind of like a sponge, and it holds in the nutrients and kind of leaches them out over time. It's also a soil conditioner. So you don't want to use straight biochar without charging it with your nutrients, because it'll actually pull nutrients out of the ground. So Miramichi Green is already charged, and that way it doesn't soak anything up that you're adding. It just helps distribute it and slow release it. Alright, so let's mix up a batch. And we've done this enough that kind of know how much of each I need without weighing it. We've got a little cheapo scale here, but today, and this isn't exact science, because when you go to apply it to the garden, you're not going to get it 100% accurate throughout, right? You're trying to over time change and get the soil to where you want it. This isn't a immediate rebalancing of your soil condition. That's why you want to retest every year and see, okay, where am I at now, and how do I need to adjust what I'm adding. So this is feather meal. You see that? It's exactly what it is, or what it sounds like. It is processed feathers. I assume mainly poultry feathers from chicken processing. If you've never used it, it has a very distinct odor. You'll know that it's feather meal. And Angela complains about it all the time, but it's a very good addition. It's a great source of nitrogen, so we choose to keep using it. Exactly 1 pound. All right. What are the chances I'd get both of those exactly right? Like I said, on the azomite, we just add a little handful. Adding about that much. Not very much. Again, it's just it's a powder. And then we'll add a little bit of Miramichi Green. I'll probably add a couple scoops of this. It's see, it's biochar and compost mixed together. So here's the Miramichi Green. They have different versions. This is the carbonized PN. It's a carbon-rich biochar plus nutrients, and it's a 50-50 blend of compost and biochar. Here's the azomite. It's still pretty full, so it's kind of heavy. 44-pound bag. And then this is the feather meal that we use. It's Down to Earth brand. And you can get all of this shipped to you. Anything I can provide a link to, I'll put a link in the description. And this is our potassium sulfate. It's a K2SO4 is the, I don't know if you can see that. So this is enough for one 50-foot bed based off of our soil testing. What I'll do is I'll mix this up and then add it to the bucket, and I'll actually mix up several beds worth. That way we don't have to do this over and over. You know, go apply it, come back and do it again. So you can do this in a wheelbarrow and do multiples or whatever. I'm just doing it in a small batch here to kind of show you how much that we amend on each bed. And I found one of the best ways to stir it easily is with a landscape staple. And that's what you end up with. I'm gonna mix up a couple more batches and then we'll go put it on the garden. Alright, there's our mix. It started raining, so I guess it's a good thing we're gonna be applying this inside the caterpillar tunnel. Alright, first thing I need to do is pull these drip lines out of the way, and then we'll spread this stuff out. Alright, drip tape's out of the way. Got my gloves, not because any of these amendments are harmful, but like I said before, the feather mill is pretty stout on smell, and it does take a couple washings to get it off your hands if you don't wear gloves. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding this and spreading it out as even as possible. Make sure you get everything covered good. All right, the amendments are down and we're almost ready to plant, but there's a couple more steps that we need to do before we can plant. But if you want to see that, you're going to have to come back to the next video. So be sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you'll know when that pops up. If you like it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one as we continue planting the winter garden in the caterpillar tunnel.